are live. What is going on, YouTube? It's your boy Andrew Michael, and welcome back to another Friday Bible study. We are on episode 130, and we are going to talk this week about something that I have seen in churches because it used to happen at an old church I went to. I don't go to this church anymore, and there have been changes I have seen made at the church I used to go to. So thankfully things are no longer this way, but they used to be this way when I went to said church. And unfortunately, this does take place in a lot of churches. And this one thing that I'm going to talk about is some people, and I'm not saying everyone, but some people will go to church with the idea that going to church is a status symbol. And if you know what I'm talking about, the official, how do I want to say, the official term for this is people who are holier than thou. And what we mean by this when we say holier than thou, we basically mean that people who become Christians then live like as if that they are holier. Not only are they holier than other people, which is wrong, but in some cases they think they are holier than they actually are. Meaning that they pedestalize themselves versus putting God in front of everything. For example, I have seen some women, and I am not saying it's all women, but some women, when they become Christians, they use it as a tool for more power. Or in some cases, they use their faith to say, I am a Christian, therefore I can do whatever I want. Or there's some churches who put out this idea, and I will not name names, but I think some people will know who I am talking about here. But there are certain preachers who also put up this idea that by following God that you are deserving of things of this world. Like some people believe that when you follow God that you might wake up with more money in your bank account, or when you follow God, that you're going to wake up with a Lamborghini outside your house tomorrow, or you are going to wake up with the girl or guy, whichever way you swing, if you will, that crush you've had on someone. That crush is going to immediately, blow up your DM saying, oh, I love you, I want to be with you, I want to live the rest of my life with you. Like, all of these things that we in life might want, it's not like those things are evil themselves, but chasing those things, and I have made a Bible study about this, but it's the pretense that chasing these things is not what our focus should be at all with being Christians. What it should be is following God, putting Him first, despite the things of this world, despite wanting to chase the things of this world. And there is a passage in the Bible that backs this up, and Jesus himself said this, and it's in Matthew 6. And it is a passage that I have come to know a lot, and I've taken it to heart as well, because it is a passage that is simple, yet a lot of people fall into this trap, whether it be with chasing a spouse, whether it is chasing status, whether it's chasing fame, notoriously with chasing money. As it is in the Bible, the love for money is the root of all evil, still is true to this day. Whether it is chasing power, whether it is chasing a what is it called? A higher position in a job, a promotion, if you will. Chasing that, whether it's chasing how people view you. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of these things that society wants us to chase. It's these things that social media also wants us to chase. It's just like with when Instagram really started to take off. There was this big preconception of how people lived versus how they actually lived. And people would compare themselves to what they were seeing on Instagram, saying, "Oh, I will never be like this. Oh, I wish I could have that Lamborghini. I wish I could have that supermodel of a spouse. I wish I could have a bunch of girls hit me up in my DMs. I wish I could have, all this money in my bank account so I could go to these extravagant locations for a vacation," right? All of these things that the world wants us to chase, all of these things that social media wants us to chase, is not what we should be chasing as Christians. Rather, and we'll get into this in a second, it should be following God, basically saying, yeah, the things of this world are alright, but it's not like following God. Because when we follow God and obey God, and not to say we believe in God, but we actually put to heart that we believe in God and try to get away from his sin as much as we can by trusting in him, then we realize that, yeah, the things of this world are cool, but they're all temporary. That is one of the biggest problems with this world, is people don't realize that the things of this world are very temporary. None of it is permanent, right? Just like with a spouse. Anyone that's married knows that we're all going to die. That spouse that you vowed you would want to spend the rest of your life with, through sickness, through death, through better, through worse, you know that person's going to die. Same with the other person. They know you're going to die one day. And there might be a time when, God forbid, that you get a divorce. Right? The things of this world are not temporary, nor have they ever been permanent. But when we strive to follow God, we know that we have a destination we will reach, which is heaven. Not because of anything we have done, nor has it ever been like that. And that is another point we will get to. And so, with that, I want to get into the Word of God here. And it is Matthew 6, 19 through 24. Oh, sorry, wrong thing, sorry. This is in Matthew 6, verses 19 through 24. And it reads, "Do not store up for yourselves treasure on earth, where moth and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and venom do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is a lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." I have friends in my Sunday school who are striving to be doctors, nurses, physical therapy students who are going to be physical therapists, occupational therapists, teachers, lawyers. Basically, what I would say, these very high status jobs, and for good reason, because they've worked for it. They've put in the work and the time and the dedication to get to where they are. So it's not like I'm saying that all of these job positions are not high status for no reason. They are high status for good reason, because they are things that a lot of people need. They need these services, and a lot of people just they don't have the dedication to get there. But what I am saying is, there are people that fall into the trap that once they get these positions, They act like because now they have the money that comes along with this, they have the status that comes along with this, they get blinded by all of this, and then comes along the one, well, I wouldn't say the one sin, one of the biggest sins that you can commit, which is pride. Pride is one of the biggest sins that God despises. Why? Because when you are prideful, you are arrogant. When you are arrogant, you put yourself ahead of others. And if you're not careful, you might even pedestalize yourself to where you think you are a higher status than God Himself. And some people do this. Some people believe that when they get the money, when they get the status, when they get the, I almost say fame, but when they get the attributes and the acclamations and the awards that come from these positions, they get blinded by this. They get blinded by all of these things, and they lose focus on the treasure they should really be striving for, which is the treasure that is in heaven, which can only be acquired through the blood of Jesus, which none of us deserve. None of us deserve what Jesus had to go through in order for us to have redemption from the sins we have committed. And I think some people let me back up. Some people don't realize that the things of this world, yeah, they're kind of nice, but again, they're all temporary. Like the job that you work. Doesn't matter what you're doing, you're going to retire. And if you're not careful, the money that you build up with doing these job positions, it's going to go away. You're not going to have the money that you have when you're working. It's going to go away. And that's why, as Christians, we cannot strive for the worldly things to be our reward. But instead, they're things that we get alongside what we're doing. And that's why, for those who are in these big positions, it's important to keep God as the prize that you need to strive for. Because then people who say, oh, well, he's a doctor or she's a doctor, therefore she must think that she's holier than thou. But instead, if you use your faith in God, not as a way to pedestalize yourself, but as a way to show to people that, yeah, I've got this high power, but it's not because of anything I've done. It's because of what God has done for me. And it's one of the things that's kept me going in my journey to get to where I am. And if it were not for God, I wouldn't be in this position, right? It's just like with athletes. Athletes who make millions of dollars. Yeah, the fame and status will get to their heads. But those that still follow God, they know what the prize is. They know that the prize is not all this fame and money and the status and all these girls that chase after them, but rather it's the idea that God is still God, even if you're a D3 athlete or if you're an NFL player, if you're an NBA player, right? And so with that, I've got some notes, and I want to get into them. Point number 1. God is not to be used as a status symbol. Instead, He should be used as the main prize to strive for in life. Let me say it again. God is not to be used as a status symbol. Instead, He should be used as the main prize to strive for in life. What do I mean by this? What I mean by this is God is a God who is not just going to be like, oh, well, you follow me, therefore you can just do whatever I want. And this is what the next point's going to be, by the way. But what I'm trying to get at with this is, in the old church I was in, some people believed that they were better than others because of their jobs. In these churches, some people believed that because they were married to someone who was a doctor, because they were married to someone who was a lawyer, they then believed that they can just live a high status life. And the problem with that is you then trick yourself into believing that you are God. You then trick yourself into believing that you are better than the creator who put you on this earth in the first place. Or you believe that you are a higher status than the one God who gave up his son Christ in order for you to even be calling yourself a Christian in the first place. Because if it were not for what Jesus had done, we would have no reason to be a Christian, because we'd be doomed because of the sins we have willfully chosen to do. Right? And that is why Jesus will always be higher than us, because he lived a full-on righteous life. He lived a life, one, because he was still God in the flesh, and two, when Satan did tempt him, Jesus said, away from me, depart from me. And it was at one point Satan even offered Jesus the entire world to follow Satan. And Jesus said no. I would hope that people would also see this. They would say, if the devil comes to them and says, I'll give you the world, I'll give you all this money, you will be rich whenever you are. I would hope people would see through that trap and realize that it's nothing but a lie. But unfortunately, people fall for this, and I was one of those people that fell for this. There was this one person, I'm not going to name names, they offered that if you took their course, that you would be higher status, you would get to sleep with whatever women you wanted to, you could have as much money as you wanted to. You would never need to work a horrible and dreadful 9-to-5 job. All for giving him $5, $10, $15. And I bought into that. And I lost $300 in the process. I got scammed. And thankfully I got the money back. But it was at a time where I was a Christian, but I wanted to be famous. And that's why I started YouTube back in 2016, is because I saw all these people that were doing so well, and I said, I want to be famous. And I had zero plan on how to do it. And I'm looking back now at like the 8 years that I've been a content creator. And I was chasing fame. I mean, I don't think I could have been in a darker place in terms of wanting to be famous so desperately. And it's not because I wanted to be famous because I wanted a lot of money. I just wanted a lot of people to know me. And it was so arrogant of me to do so. And now I'm realizing that if I want to be a content creator for long term, one, it's got to be content that I want to do, but also it's content that benefits people as well. Because I had to realize back in 2019 that I can't be all selfish. I have to be a mix of both selfish and selfless in order to grow closer to God, because I was selfish. I was very selfish. Like, there was a point in time where all I could think about was how I wanted to be better than other people. Literally. How I wanted to be famous. How I wanted to do this, this, and this. And it was just... I fell into the trap that I'm trying to tell people to avoid. Which is not chasing the things of this world, but you need to chase the Lord and pursue the Lord despite everyone else and how they think about you. And this gets into my next point. Your faith in God should not be used as an excuse to live however, and then say, oh, it's okay. God will forgive me. Instead, it should be, yes, God will forgive me. However, that doesn't mean I should commit this sin I am about to commit. So the shorthand version of this second point is following God shouldn't be an excuse to live however you want. Let me say it a second time. Following God shouldn't be an excuse to live however you want. And a lot of people fall into this trap as well because they think that because they are Christians, they can be as greedy as they want. They think because they're Christians, they can sleep around and have sex whenever they want to. Some people believe that when they are Christians, they can go and get drunk on the weekends, or they can do like I did and strive to get famous and strive to get a bunch of money and strive to have high status stuff just because you want to say I'm better than a lot of people. That's not at all what it should be about. Instead, like in the second point, when you follow God, you say, yeah, those things are alright. Being famous is alright, but even I know, and I have seen it, how fame destroys people. Mainly when it goes away. It is just like the talk I saw with Tom Brady. And this was all the way back in 2012, I think. Yeah. This was 2012 because at the time, I think the Patriots from 2000 to 2012, they had won... I'm trying to think. I think they had won 4 Super Bowls at the time, which at the time was a bunch of Super Bowls. Compared to what we see now with Patrick Mahomes, you know, he has 3 now. At the time, the Patriots had won a couple of Super Bowls, but now they have 4. And Tom Brady was on an interview, and someone asked him, how do you feel? How do you feel being a 4-time Super Bowl champion? And he said he's not happy. He said he was not happy. Think about this. Imagine being one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and saying you're not happy. Like, if it were me and I were an NFL quarterback and I had won 4 Super Bowls, I don't think there would be much else things that can make you happy because you're a very successful quarterback. Why wouldn't you be happy? But it gets to the point to where nothing in this world will give you joy. The only joy you're going to get is by following God. And it goes back to the same similar thing as what we've been talking about today, which is that things on this earth only give you temporary happiness. But just like the things of this earth, your feelings are temporary. That happiness you feel with being a doctor, you think with being a lawyer, you think with being a PT, OT person. There will be times where you might hate what you're doing because you're not going to always be happy. And that's why, just like with being a content creator, you got to like what you're doing. You got to enjoy what you're doing. And plus, too, it's like they say about content creation. If you're going to make content, yes, it has to be something that people want to watch, but it has to be content that you actually want to make and that you can make long term, just like with your occupations. It has to be something you want to do because you're going to face something a lot of people as content creators face, which is burnout. And if you're not careful, you get burned out. Then you fall into a hole of why am I doing this? Why am I burning myself out for all of this? And unfortunately, some people hit depression. They hit rock bottom. And in some places, people off themselves. It's just like what I've seen recently with some porn actresses. They get all the status of sleeping around with random people on camera. And with OnlyFans, some OnlyFans creators, they sleep around with random dudes, getting all this money. And guess what? They are not happy. They never will be happy. Why? Because that sin of adultery is creeping around in their heads. And then they realize they have used their body up so much to where they have taken what should be the unification of a husband and a wife coming together and using it as a means to an end to get what they want. Just like with God, how some people will use God as a means to an end. Point number 4. We should be like Jesus in the sense that we are to be welcoming of people in their different walks in life. However, that doesn't mean we need to accept what they do. Now, this is another problem that I have seen, and it is not prosperity Christianity that is the problem here. It is instead progressive Christianity that is the issue here. I am not going to... I need to be careful here, because some people might take what I say the wrong way. But it is important to recognize that sin, no matter what you view it as, is still a sin. I believe that a man and a woman should be together. I believe that men should want to be with a woman as a marriage. And people who view themselves as wanting to be with the same sex, like if a female wants to be with a female, or if a male wants to be with another male, I think that it ultimately robs what should be the holiness of a man and a woman coming together. Likewise with Adam, when God made Eve. God did not make Brian. He did not make a Steve to go with Adam. He didn't make an Andrew to go with Adam. He did not make a Nicholas to go with Adam. He made Eve to go with Adam because he knew that Adam and Eve were going to be partners. He knew that Adam needed someone who was similar to him, but not of the same way as him. Right? That's how the childbirthing thing started, because once Adam and Eve had a sin, that's when Cain and Abel had came to be. And I believe that the LGBT thing ultimately is a sin because it robs what God designed men and women to ultimately be, which is to be together and not be with the same sex. Now, I am not going to sit here and hate on that, because it's not what I'm doing. Like, if I say I do not like, or let me back up. If I say that adultery is a sin, it still is a sin. But it's not like I hate the people that do it, right? Like, I have a coworker who has committed adultery, and it's not like I go around every day and say, oh, I hate you because you're an adulterer. I hate you because you slept around with someone you weren't married to. But instead, I say, what you did is wrong, but you can find redemption through Christ. That is why we follow God, is we repent ultimately from what we've done, is we realize that what we have done is wrong. And one thing about progressive Christianity is they're fully accepting not only of people, but of the sins that they commit. That is why, as a church, we cannot be accepting of the sins that come in through the doors. But instead, we are accepting of the people that come through, and we try to tell them, listen, you might be doing this sin and this sin and this sin, but if you want to follow God, if you want to ultimately submit all of yourself to Christ, you cannot serve both God and the world. And so with that, I am going to end it here. Thank you all for watching this Bible study. I hope you all have enjoyed it. And until next time, I am Andrew Michael, and I will see you all in the next one.